Hello and welcome to my video. Today we are going to just go over common features on sewing machines, so I hope you enjoy. So we are going to talk about our sewing machine. So I'm going to show you all of the features on the machine itself. And I apologize in advance because I am doing most of this camera work by hand and I know that I am not steady of hand. So here we go. I currently have a Singer patchwork and it's a basic machine. It's sold for low-level beginner stuff, but that's all I could really afford when I bought a new machine when we moved. So this is what I ended up with. I do plan on upgrading, but it's going to be a while because right now we're financially tight for a little bit. But I will show you the basics of the majority of your machines. They may look a little different, but they should all have most of these features. Okay, so on the top of your machine, you are going to find your primary thread spool holder. Mine looked like that when it came, although it wasn't stained. That is from all the thread that I have slid on and off over the year and a half that I've owned this machine. So this is my primary spool holder, and my machine and most machines these days will come with a secondary, which will look like this. You attach it through this little hole right here. You just slide it right in. Now, that secondary holder, you only need to worry about if you are going to be sewing with a twin needle, or if for some reason the thread that you have doesn't work horizontally and it only works vertically, then you would put it on this. Otherwise, you only need this one for your standard stitches. Now, on the top, you've got all these little mechanisms and such. These are used for your thread tension. When you load your thread, they help with the tension so that it is proper for the machine. And you need to make sure that it is threaded in the correct direction and through all the loops and bobs that are there, because if it is not, you will end up with bird nesting. You will end up with tangled thread. And also for the tension, we have this little knob. This is a tension knob, so you can set it looser or you can set it tighter. Generally speaking, I keep mine on auto. I don't have a lot of issues with tension on this machine. The only instance that I've had to really change it is when I do use a twin needle. I have to set it on -3. Otherwise, it causes a bubble between the two stitches. That's the only time I've ever had to change this in the year and a half that I've owned it. We also have this little thing. That is our bobbin winder. So you can wind the bobbin with whatever thread you're using. That way your thread matches. And you will have to load the bobbin winder thread from these tension settings also. And then you lock it in place. And when you lock it in place, your needle should not move. So I said, I bought this machine a year and a half ago. When I bought it, I should have taken it back, but I didn't because I was lazy. But when I lock my bobbin threader, or my bobbin winder in place, and I press my foot pedal, my needle moves. So it's locked in place and it just moves ever so slightly. I don't know if you can even see it on, there you go. So I don't know if you can hear the machine in the video, but it kind of makes it, I don't even know how to describe it, but it makes it sound like it's putting forth a lot of effort, which it is. So I don't like to use the bobbin winder on my machine. I need to buy a separate one, but really I am intending on buying a new machine at some point. So now I've switched it back to the unlock position. My needle should go up and down, and that's fine. If I need to move my needle manually, I would use this knob on the side. Most machines have it on the right side, but all machines should have a knob. And you will turn it counterclockwise to advance and clockwise to reverse. Our start and stop button. If you press this and you get the C3, that means you need to unplug your foot pedal. To use the start and stop, your foot pedal needs to be unplugged, and it is an automatic stitch function. So when I press start, it will start stitching, and I don't have to do anything. It will go. I can just guide my material through. If I press it again, that stops it. The needle position is whether you want your needle in the up position or the down position. So if I'm stitching and the light is off, that will always stop in the up position. If I want it to stop in the down position for, say, working a corner, then I will turn that light on, and that will make it stop in the down position, and I can just turn it back off if I want to raise it back up. This button is my lock stitch or my reverse stitch button. It is the same. On some stitches, it will do an automatic locking stitch. On other stitches, it is just a reverse button. Just depends on the stitch. But when I got the machine, it had a mark on the button that looks like a U with a little arrow point on one side. Mine has worn off, but that is what you're looking for on your machine. On the front of the machine, we also have this little slider here, and that is the speed of your stitches. So the lower side is slow stitches and the higher side is the faster stitches. To set your stitches, this is you're looking for your stitch guide on your machine. I've seen it here and I've seen it on the top, but this is what mine looks like. The numbers underneath each stitch are your corresponding number setting for the stitch. The large numbers on the left are my stitch program numbers. So 00 is my straight stitch. That's what we're looking at. The middle numbers are the width of the stitch or the needle position. So since I have this on a straight stitch, if I move this to the right, but using this right arrow, if I turn this number up, it moves my needle slightly to the right so that my needle can be over further. If I move it back to the left, it will move it slightly left. Your standard stitch is going to be the underlined number. So if you're looking, you're like, I don't remember what number it was on. When that line pops up, that means that is the standard number. Same on the stitch length. The standard number is the one with the line underneath it. The up and down on the stitch length will change how long or short your stitches are. So larger number is long, smaller number is short. That is all you need to know right there. Now, all these stitches are stitches I can do on my machine, and the feet to do them should come with your machine. So you shouldn't need anything additional to do these stitches. If you got your machine secondhand and you only have the one foot that came with it, or maybe even no feet, you can buy packs of them online. I actually bought a pack because I lost my zipper foot. So this is one of those packs you can get online. It has a large number of stitching feet, and they all have different purposes. I have also found that I really like the freeform foot. That enables me to do quilting patches, which I am not a quilter. I have never been a quilter, but I am making a skirt that is basically a quilt that I will wear because in the winter it's rainy and cold here in the San Francisco Bay. If you'd like to see a video about me making that skirt, please let me know, but otherwise maybe you'll see it in a future video. So on this side of the machine, sometimes you'll have built into the machine a thread cutter, and it just kind of looks like a little hook, and it's got a little piece of metal in it, and you just slide your thread up through it and that will cut it. Mine did not have one built in, so I bought this thread cutter, and it's just stuck on. It can be removed if I want at any point. It's adhesive. And then down here you have, of course, your needle. There is a little metal hook here, and that's used when you put your thread on the needle. The thread should go behind this hook on this side, on the left side. There's a screw here. This is the tension for your needle. And you use that to change your needle. You will loosen it and remove the needle, which I'll show later also. This is for threading your needle. If you look closely, I don't think you can see it on the video, but on your machine, if you look in this little two-prong side in the middle, there's a little metal hook that goes through your needle, which mine is a little bent. There it goes. It goes through the needle, and you catch your thread on it and then pull it back, and that will pull your thread through the needle. That does not work on a twin needle. You can only use that on a single needle. On this side, there is a little screw right here, and that is used to remove the foot holder. So when you change your foot to a foot that doesn't require this, so something like a free stitching foot, you will use that screw to remove this entire holder and slide the foot itself up on this, and then you will tighten it back down. I'll also show that later. This right here, it pulls down and it pushes up, and that may be a little confusing if you have no idea what that is, but that is for buttonholes. So if you have a machine that is compatible with a buttonhole foot, you will use this on the buttonhole foot. It pulls down and it sits in a guide on the foot, and when it bumps the back of it, it reverses the stitch, and then when it bumps the front, it reverses the stitch, so it only goes as far as you set it. This is for releasing your foot. So it's the back part of your foot holder, and sometimes I've seen it look like just a little black peg, but mine is a little metal lever, and you just push that and it will release your foot, and that way you can put a different foot on. So on the back of the machine we have this lever, and that raises and lowers your foot holder. And if my foot is not attached to the machine, I like to line it up under the foot holder and then just lower it, and it'll click into place. And I find that a lot easier than trying to line it up and push it on. So that's just a little tip for you. Here we have our bobbin cover on this machine, and this little black space here. You just pull to the right on that and it pops that cover up. Inside, this is the bobbin case, which when you clean your machine, and I will show you again later, you will remove this bobbin case and make sure there's no dust under it, no dust on it, because that thread dust and fabric dust that gets down there can jam your machine. It can cause more bird nesting, and it gets sometimes pulled up onto your projects. I actually went too long without cleaning out my project without cleaning out my machine earlier this year, and I had a large piece of fuzz that caused a tangle and then got pulled through the machine and was stuck to my project, and I had to take out the stitches to get it off. So clean out your machine regularly. I try to clean mine out once a week because I sew nearly every day. But that is that. This metal plate is, I think it's called a foot plate, but it has measurements on it. You can see, raise this and get this out of the way. You can see these measurements, and those are your seam allowance guides. So I have 5/8 on here. This is 3/8. There's a half right here in between. And then on this side, it has the same one. So there's 5/8, there's half, and there's 3/8. And that is just so that it makes it easier if you have to have your seam on this side. You can see where to line your fabric up so that your seam allowance is the correct width. And these things right here, they are feed dogs. That is what they are called. When you are cleaning your machine, make sure you have the metal plate off and you clean in between these feed dogs, because you will get fabric buildup under those, and then the feed dogs cannot move your fabric properly. They can't grip on because there's little pieces of fuzz stuck in there that have built up. So when I press my foot pedal, you can see that the feed dogs move, and that moves your fabric forward. Well, it pulls it towards the back of the machine. I call it forward, but I guess it's backwards. I don't know. Anyway, the feed dogs pull your fabric towards the back of the machine and will walk your fabric through while you're stitching. That is why you do not need to put a lot of pressure on your fabric when you're putting it through your machine. That can make your stitches bunch or even misalign, or it can pull your needle when you're stitching and bend your needle. So do not pull the fabric. Do not push the fabric through. You don't need to do that. The feed dogs should do it. If your fabric is not pulling through because it's too heavy, you can put a little bit of pressure on it to get it going, but I wouldn't do too much. If it's still an issue with just a little bit of pressure to get it going and it's not pulling, then you want to probably use something like a walking foot, which is used a lot of times for quilting, because it's meant for the thicker fabrics and it will lift up and move. And so you've got the feed dogs and the foot actually moving the fabric, and that should correct that issue for you. Okay, now that we know all the pieces on the machine itself, we have our foot, our foot pedal, and that just plugs into our machine. So you should have a little hole on your machine, and it kind of looks like a headphone jack. So the hole on your machine kind of looks like a headphone jack, and that would be why, because it looks like a headphone plug. But that is my foot pedal plug, and that will go right in there. And then over here, we have our power button, but we have to plug in our cord. So we've got our power cord. You want to make sure that the shapes match up so that you can plug it in, just like on a printer or computer or, you know, anything. And you want to push it all the way in. I'll have to have 2 hands for this, but you push it all the way in, plug it in, and then you can turn your machine on. So now we can turn our machine on. And you can see that it's on. The light is on it. And that should be all the features you need. So if you have any questions, let me know and I will try to answer them. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you return. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know. But otherwise, I am going to start weaving in more videos of me actually sewing. So if you have requests, please put them in the comments and I'll take a look at them and see what I can do. So for now, have a great day.